So you want to be a game dev. That's great. Brilliant. Oh, and even better, you've got a game idea that you really feel strongly about. But there's a bit of a problem. Unless you're doing it as a side hobby and you've got a part-time or full-time job, some other form of income, you still need to buy the essentials. Your electric, rent, food. So what should you consider if you're going to make your first or next game and you actually want to make money off it so that you can continue to work as a game developer, more specifically from a design point of view. Now, before we start, I would just like to say that Fire Me, I Insist has a demo on Steam that is available to play, and if you'd like to wishlist it, that would be massively appreciated. And you can always join our Discord and ask us any direct questions about Fire Me, I Insist or game development from two very new people to the industry that aren't too busy and still have time to answer questions. So chances are you have a great game idea. It's fully thought out, it's fully planned, you know exactly what you want to do with it. However, you potentially don't have the knowledge or the experience to develop it, or the even worse possibility, nobody would actually play it. Games, like any other media, go through various trends, and the market generally tends to favour a certain genre or topic at one particular time. Take, for instance, the 2010s with a boom of survival games, which may or may not be down to one particular survival game, and more recently the social deduction and multiplayer horror games that you see popping up left, right and centre. Now, when you're making a game, you obviously want to make something that you're quite passionate about and have an interest in. I recently spoke to a game developer who said that he actually hated working in the corporate scene and that he'd much rather be working on projects that he personally developed or designed. And hell, even if you do like working for the corporate overlords and generating a massively popular game on one big team, there's not necessarily any guarantee of safety in that field anymore either. Even some studios with the most successful of games to launch are still willing to significantly cut their staffing not that long after launch. So fine, you're going to make a game that you would like, a game that you would like to play even. That's how me and James came up with Fire Me, I Insist, and we're thrilled with the game. It's a fun, simple game with a unique experience that we think is priced reasonably, but there is another problem. You may have heard over recent years more and more that attention is the new currency. At least that is true for content and media. Even this video, if it was monetized, would have ads running, and our viewers would figure into how much we would get paid from the videos, and games are no different. With a ridiculous amount of games coming out on Steam every year, your game is technically fighting every other game on the market for time. And with even bigger games adding battle passes, a new incentive to encourage people to spend some money on the game and then also play it religiously for the next 2 months so that they actually finish the battle pass and get the skins and other cosmetics that are dependent on you playing the game. But technically, given that we're advertising our game on this channel, we technically are also vying for attention with this video. So what has this all got to do with our game? The problem is that Fire Me, I Insist is potentially not an attention seeker. It's not a game that you can stay up for 12 hours playing. It's not competitive so that you're building your skill as you play it, and I definitely don't think it qualifies for esports. And putting the dialogue aside, there's not necessarily 12 hours of content there to keep people engaged. And in our doom-scrolling society, attention spans are very low, and luckily that's our game. An hour or two experience that only cost a couple of quid, dollars, and I'm guessing thousands of yen. The more pressing problem, however, is that it doesn't have a trendy hook, something to grab people's attention. So what do you need to do when designing a game? If you want it to be successful financially, you should probably start by analysing trends. At the moment, it seems social deduction is almost trailing off. Meanwhile, multiplayer horrors and cozy games are all over Steam. And in this horrible world that we inhabit, it makes sense that people would use games to socialise and also to escape. So you could do with finding something that's currently trending, as you know that there is a current existing market for it. Then you need interesting gameplay. And whether it's strategic, a platformer, or combat driven, there's a million different areas of your game that you can make satisfying. Take, for instance, the exploration in Skyrim and the millions of things that you can discover that have all been handcrafted to build this world and really immerse you, compared to the exploration in Starfield, a bunch of lifeless, empty planets with some pre-existing templates being scattered around a procedurally generated world. Whatever the hook or unique selling point of your game is, make sure that it's easily marketable and that you're tapping into something that people are looking for from games. So it might be that you want to look at the hook of your game before you even start working on it, to make sure that you can grab people's attention when it comes to marketing and the game's release. Like any other product, you'll need a unique selling point, even if it is that you've taken many other concepts and features from games and perfected them. But the earlier you start to think about marketing, the better. And like usual, the quicker you can verbally sell your product to people, the more likely it'll be to spread across the most viable marketing channels we have today. I'm of course talking about social media. Previously, it may be that you would need a bucket load of money and startup capital to market, putting your game on billboards or in TV adverts. But for better or worse, nowadays a hell of a lot of marketing is done on social media, and this is because people spend a ridiculous amount of time on social media nowadays, and its personalized algorithmic nature means that people can find things that they are interested in. It's a more refined and shallow net compared to the wide catchment a BBC advert might get you. Rather than broadcasting your game to people of all ages, with all interests, and from all different backgrounds, if you can figure out the algorithm, then chances are your game is going to end up in front of people that are more likely to play your game. And after all of that, you'll know pretty quickly whether or not your game is something that people want to play. Fire Me, I Insist is most likely not going to be one of these games. Point and click investigation games aren't exactly trendy at the moment, and as much as we love the game, it's unlikely that we can convince thousands of people to feel the same way. But that's not a bad thing. We have learned a lot of things as we've developed Fire Me, I Insist, and all of these lessons will be taken forward to the next game that we make together. And even if it only makes £2, we are both very proud of the game we've made, and it's not going anywhere. It'll always be there as something that we've created together. But this video wasn't made for game developer hobbyists who have the patience to wait until their game is fully formed, until they're extremely happy with it before publishing it. This video was made for people who financially need a win from the gaming market and from the game that they're developing. And it's hopefully helped you think about some things from a design perspective about your game before you've even started developing it. For instance, I know for a fact that I would enjoy playing Fire Me, I Insist if I hadn't developed it myself, but I can't guarantee that I would go searching for a game of that genre, because it's not the type of game most people would play nowadays. Moving forward, we at Banana Jam Games will most likely be looking to create something that will perform relatively well within the gaming market, but that we can also add our own little touch on, whether that's through humour. It's just going to be through humour, to be honest, but also potentially the art and general narrative of the game. So if you're about to start work on a game, have a real think from a design perspective about what's going to be unique, how the game is going to be satisfying from a gameplay perspective, and how dead set on it being an immediate success you are. And if you take nothing else away from this video, try and avoid making a point and click game.